Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles, and we are on the Type 88 show, where we talk to people about how they turn their dreams into reality. And this woman right here is a teacher, scholar. When I met her, she was helping youth and she's educating, and she just hasn't stopped. And she just keeps leveling up every time I turn on social media. She's writing something, getting an award, going somewhere else, following her dreams, going to different places that I would have never imagined. And I'm grateful to have her here with us today. So I just want to welcome Claire Jimenez to the Type 88 show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. That is so kind. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Maybe you could tell us where you started. Like, where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Brooklyn and I lived in Brooklyn for, I guess, until maybe third or fourth grade. And then I moved to Staten Island, which is a common story, that Brooklyn to that
Yep.
Brooklyn to Staten Island pipeline. And I lived and I went to school first at a small little Catholic school called St. Paul's. When we moved out over here, it was right by St. Peter's Boys. And then I went to 61, and after that to Tech. Uh, yeah, so that's where I started, and I always loved writing and then teaching and working with young people. And so I I guess that was I guess that was my beginning. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, like, when did you kind of find writing? Because, you said you enjoy writing. Was it like a hobby? Was it something like a class you took? Like, how did it find you? How did you find writing?
Yeah, I always loved reading. Like I always loved reading and writing. I was like the weird kid in at IS 61 who brought like a book of Emily Dickinson poems to class. I was like, and I remember what it looked like. It was like a white book with like, so like red flowers on it. And I brought it to 61, and it was like probably $4 on sale from Barnes and Nobles. And while everybody else was reading and doing other things, but uh, I I always loved reading. I always loved writing. I don't think I realized that I was going to be a writer till much later, when I could see myself, you know, become see like a pathway towards that. Because I think a lot of us, we grow up and it's like your parents are like, get a real job. My parents wanted me to be an engineer, especially going to
Mhm.
tech, but I was terrible at math, and I still am terrible at math. So I ended up becoming an artist, which is probably every uh immigrant family's like nightmare. But but I did um a lot of teaching and youth development in addition to the writing. And then I mean, I started off, I actually went to, when I got out of college, I graduated into a recession. It was 2006. I had graduated, and then I couldn't find jobs. And then it was at 2008, sort of crash. And I was working a lot of retail. I worked at Victoria's Secrets at the Staten Island Mall and this swimsuit shop in the Upper East Side. And because I couldn't find a job. And I did that for a little bit and worked at after school programs. And then I realized, I was like, what do I, and I was kind of miserable. And I realized that not with the after school, because I always loved working with young people and I continue to do that, but with working retail. And I just realized I love to write, and I tried to figure out, how can I do that, right? And also live and survive. And that's when I started to Google like MFA programs. And I kind of went, and I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna try. And one thing that I think you'll appreciate, knowing like the content and things you're always posting about. The first time I applied for MFA programs, I did not get in at all.
Mm.
And I was devastated. And I was working a couple of jobs I hated. And I just remember being so overcome with emotion about it. And then I talked to a teacher, Emma Garcia, I'll never forget. And she was like, no, you're just going to try again next year. And I tried again, and I got into a few programs. And so I say all that because I know that with you, you're always like, follow your dreams. You have to keep on going. Failure is not failure in the way we think of it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes those little dips are part of your path, right? um and so I did that, and I got into an MFA program. The second year I went to Vanderbilt, um in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a fully funded program. I remember going there. They had flown me out, and they were recruiting to recruit their students. They pick 800 people apply, and they pick like 3 people, and then they tried to lure you. And I was like, I don't need to be lured.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here. You're gonna pay me to write, like, and I get to learn. And it was a huge blessing.
Wow.
I mean, there were some hard parts too, but I learned a lot from that. And then I came back and I worked in New York for a while, and then tapped out again and did the PhD program. I think I constantly going to school and then coming back to New York. So
Wow.
that was how I realized I could write. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to shout you out because you actually wrote a grant for me like 8 years ago or 7 years ago, and
We both did.
I just
Totally.
wanted to
Yeah.
show you my appreciation. Not to go off topic, but it ties into the writing. You
Yeah.
wrote me that, and that really sparked me to be at so many different schools.
How
Uh,
you were wonderful.
PS21, like it, I don't know if you watch basketball, but that was like John Stockton, like because he's known for
Mhm.
throwing assists.
Yeah.
He's the leader of assists, so I always be like, "Yo, that's like John Stockton." But you threw the ultimate assist to me, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you. I think about it every year, and I'm like,
Aw,
shout out to Claire." And I say to myself, shout out to Claire. I don't know how many programs I would even be doing if it wasn't for you having the vision and putting the pieces together. So I really thank you for that.
thank you, Dave. Oh man, I remember this. I mean, you were doing such great programs. And believe, remember, we were just talking about this, but like at the Carter Center making the Stop Bullying shirts. I
Hmm.
haven't seen like that follow through with that project, like from the conception to the actual making of the shirts. The kids were just they loved it, and they had
Yeah.
their eyes lit up, and it was like seeing what they had dreamed come to fruition in this really cool artistic way was such a wonderful project. Yeah, they would wear those shirts. So
Yeah. So your story is just so awesome because you found these kind of like underground paths almost where like they're not really commercial in the sense of like
yeah,
become a lawyer, become a doctor. You found these programs that you were able to get an education, get paid, and follow
yeah.
your dreams. Like that to me is just like some people would consider that like hacking it, but it's not hacking it when you work as hard as you do, and so like research and writing, like
Yeah.
that's amazing to be able to even find those because people don't even know those things exist.
It's a lot of years too, and I try to tell people this because sometimes we only see like when people succeed, but it's also a lot of years of failure. That's why I mentioned that thing, like there's a lot of years of struggle, there's a lot of years of, I mean, even when we had met, like I was working like 3 or 4 jobs and
I
like barely
remember.
making rent. It was adjuncting, and I was working at the Carter Center. I had one other job. I can't remember. Oh, Staten Island Arts. Duh,
Oh yeah,
that's where I
yeah,
met you. Yeah. But like I was doing all of that work and trying to put together a paycheck, and just constantly like seemingly striking out, right, in terms of getting the where I wanted to be with my writing, getting the time, or getting the publications that I wanted, or and then, but I think the key there is, and for writers especially, and I think this is true for all artists. We say this for writers, but I think it extends to everybody. Uh, that if you want to be a writer, you have to get really used to a life of rejection. So you just have to like sort of just like, okay, I'm gonna, there's gonna be times when I'm not gonna win, and you just got to keep on going, right? The best writers have always done this.
yeah,
So that's a really important thing to remember as artists, that it's not always, oh, I won this grant, or I published this book, or this person wrote about, my art, or something like this. It's a lot of struggle too.
and that's like the stuff that we don't see on Instagram.
Yeah,
We usually see like
yeah,
people us on stage. We kind of see the build the end result, but there's so much that leads up to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and as Drake would say, they weren't with me shooting in the gym. You know,
Yeah.
like that's being in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, like working and the practicing that leads up to the game, which is the
Yeah.
book or the graduation or the grant or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's
And I know
just
you know because like you know we talked about this too, the amount of hard work it is to be an artist and to survive and to make your dreams come true. It's work, you know. It
yeah.
is. Yeah.
The other day I was telling someone I was like, I feel like I just started, and they're like, "You've been doing this for 14 years. How do you even say that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
I said no, because you're always learning something new that takes you kind of to this new level. And I kind of
Yeah.
look at like life as this never ending learning lesson. You know, it's like, all right, I don't want to stop learning. That's my goal, is to just keep learning forever.
Yeah.
Never be too
Me
old to
too.
learn, or oh, she's older than me, or she, what do they know? Oh, they're 50 years older than me, or this
Yeah.
kid's only 7. What could I? No, I could learn from anyone.
Yeah. Listen, I always think about in terms of, I was talking about this recently with a few people, but that when you like for over the past few years, I've become like increasingly professionalized in terms of my writing and my writing career and all of this, you know, in terms of selling books and having an agent and doing all of this work. But what I miss and what I've been trying to remind myself about is like the sense of play that it drew me to writing, the sense of like, why did I love to write? Like as a kid, you know, the idea that I could create characters and that I could create these stories and that, you know, and I
Yeah,
tried to remind myself to go back to that. And to do that, you have to get yourself out of this, like, I'm a specialized professional, like, you know, doing this special work. Like you
yeah,
have to go and put um your defenses down to explore and do different things. Like, and I think about this in terms of also thinking about other types of art and other types of genres, you know, and being allowed to be shitty at something, right? I sorry, I don't
yeah.
know if I being
Oh
allowed to be
yeah,
terrible at something, you know, like
yeah.
I don't need to be the best painter, right? But like to be able to paint to express myself in that way, and that might enrich my writing in some way. Um, yeah, so I've been thinking about that a lot, giving myself permission to try other things that normally I wouldn't, you know, because I thought, oh, that's not me. I don't know how to do that.
Mm. There's been a phrase that's been it, because I always ask people on the pod, like, describe yourself in a few words. But
Mhm.
and then I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing by doing that, because we're so many more, we could do and be anything. You know what I mean? For me,
Yeah,
it's more or less for
yeah,
writing the description of the show, but like I love that. Like you don't have to limit yourself, even if you're not a master at it.
yeah,
Pick up the keyboard and just play around, and like, oh wow, now you're getting used to like messing up, because
yeah,
we become so talented in what we're doing.
yeah,
It almost becomes robotic, and it's like, all right,
yeah,
like for
yeah.
me, I don't even think about designing anymore. Like I kind of have design
Mm,
structures in my
yep.
mind, and I just tap into them, and it's
Hmm.
almost like breathing now.
Yeah,
And I'm
this
like,
is so interesting.
I'm not being creative. I'm just tapping into these little formulas that I've created at any moment
Mhm.
to make anything. But
Yeah,
then it's cool to like play a video game, or to
yeah,
like play Fortnite with my little cousin, or even just
yeah,
learn about it and be like completely aloof to what's going on, and
yep,
just be a sponge to it. And it does,
yep.
you're right, it does something to you.
That's so true. Yeah, I was thinking about like I had to do a translation to graduate and I my Spanish is like kindergarten level, you know, and I was working through the translation and I was like, wow, this is so out of my, you know, this is so out, you know, translators are I admire them so much and they are brilliant human beings who do such beautiful work, you know, and I when I came to it, I was like, oh, this is definitely something that is this is like I am out of my, you know, this
Yeah.
is definitely something that is way above what my skill set, right? but I also was like, oh my God, this is so wonderful to do this and to not be an expert at it and to learn
Yeah.
and I just realized so much about writing as I was doing the translation um and about writers too. So it was a great moment. Yeah, I want to do more of
Yeah.
that. I want to
Yeah.
be a student more often.
Yeah. What I do a lot, Claire, when I'll like go to what I'll do, I'll go to a career day. It's
Yeah.
crazy because I'm in all these schools. I don't even get to do these career days. But when I used to, I would start sitting before I would talk to them. And I'm like, I'm here to tell you about what I'm doing, but I'm
Mhm,
also here to learn from you, you know? And
mhm,
I said, no matter how old I get, I want to learn something new. And,
mhm.
this is my story or
Yep.
whatever, but I love what you said. You just want to keep learning. And that to
Yeah.
me is everything.
Yep. Yep.
So it's so amazing, Staten Island, there's so much history. You grew up here,
Yeah.
you were raised here. Um, Maybe you could kind of think of some highlights kind of growing up or even recently that maybe we could kind of tap into. There's such a rich history here. What are some
Yeah.
moments that really like were important to you, or that just it could even been a birthday with like
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mentioned this to you before. Like, I think this Amazon Union, like, I just think that it's so
yeah,
wonderful that that type of work happened in Staten Island. Because I think there's a couple of things like you don't think of Staten Island when you think about like we're gonna bust up Amazon and yeah, like and form a union, right? Like, and that
yeah,
to me is but that is a part of Staten Island that I love. I just love it. I love the underdog nature of it.
mhm,
I love the hidden parts that don't get talked about. And that for me is so exciting. And in my writing, when I wrote about tonight, I write about a lot of ugly things too, but I also like to write about the things that people don't know about, the unexpected, and these wonderful victories. And so that was something that stuck out to me. I think
yeah,
a lot about the types of art and artists that people don't know about that came from here, like um, like Audre Lorde, who lived here, and a lot of her poetry actually has images from the island in it, the ferry, the water. Like these are these are landscapes that make their way into her poetry. But again, nobody ever says Audre Lorde and thinks of Staten Island, right?
mhm,
And I think that it's a mistake that people make, right?
yeah,
But it's also this wonderful moment when we can talk about the rich traditions that have come up here.
yeah. That that Amazon thing is awesome. I have a
Right?
bunch of friends that work there.
Yeah.
The That was empowering for them, and it's just it's true. We really are underdogs. We're underlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah.
We're last on the shout outs whenever anyone does a hip hop show or forgotten about. They'll say Long Island before Staten Island.
Yeah.
But
And
but
it's so
yeah,
odd because it's like Wu-Tang Clan is one of the best, like it's
yeah,
just one of the best hip hop groups of, in our history. And but there's, but for some reason that doesn't connect with people. They're
yeah.
like, yeah,
It's because a lot of people haven't even been here. I've interviewed so many people, and I'm like, they're like, no, I drove by, I drove past it to get to Jersey, and it's kind of like this kind of segue to get to the next place. And
yeah,
I was like, yo, next time you're here, hit me up, and I'll show you a couple of spots.
yeah, sure you a good time. Yeah. I miss the island a lot.
So
I really,
what are a couple of spots? Because they call it Staten Italy, but there's so much more than just Italian food, even though, the Italian food is on lock here.
oh my
Wh-
God, it's so delicious. I miss it so much now that I'm in the Midwest. Oh my God, it's so bad over here. They put cream
Really?
cheese on pizza. Yeah. It's like a white pie is not cream cheese on pizza, it's ricotta.
Oh shit.
And I made the mistake of biting into it, and it was just terrible. And it's just, oh man. It was so sad. But yeah, I miss Italian food. I also miss, like the Sri Lankan food. Oh man, there's that spot
Oh
on
yeah.
Victory, and I'm forgetting the name. And but that spot I loved. At the Carter Center right across the street, that little bodega, they used to sell the pastelitos. Well, they don't, they still sell it now. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm just not there. I
Yeah.
used to go there and get and buy like five for like $1 each, and just oh my god, destroy them at my desk while working with the kids. But yeah, I miss all of those spots. I miss
Oh
Caribbean
yeah.
food. There's not a lot of Caribbean spots out over here either. But
Yeah.
um yeah,
Port Richmond, St. George. There's
yeah.
just so many little gems that,
Uh,
and you don't know how many times I tweet Claire about one of my favorite Spanish food spots in Westerly closing down. I,
oh, which one?
there was Cusco. There was
Oh,
this empanada spot,
ah,
literally, and they're open for like 6 months. And
yeah,
I'm like, I wish I talked to them because like I don't know if Westerly gets it. Like I don't
yeah,
understand. And
yeah.
it's
I think
crazy.
that somebody told me that the Marie's Gourmet on, well, this is in Spanish food, but the one on Victory closed down too. From
Oh really?
is that true? Yeah, I don't.
I
Somebody had, and I
I
loved
went.
that spot. That was right across. You
Yeah,
see,
we
you go there
we
all the
we
time.
went there for like a to celebrate one of the Carter Center things. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, we did the mentors. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I last time I checked it is there, but I don't drive past there that often. I gotta double check.
Maybe they were mistaken. Somebody
Okay.
was, oh yeah, the pandemic got them. So I hope Marie's Gourmet, if you're listening, I hope you're still alive there.
I was there like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and they were there.
Yeah,
So
good, good.
for anyone who maybe is on Staten Island, they're like, oh, what are Claire's spots? Like, where would you recommend to someone? Because I know you know
Oh,
some hidden
shoot, yeah.
gems on the island.
Oh, I don't know how hidden they are. I think for anybody on Staten Island will be like, oh yeah, I love that place too. Yeah, I love Bessos. Like I'm always over there. I love writing by, um, I actually like writing in the terminal. I don't know if that's, I love having a beer on the ferry and writing. There's something about that
Mm,
that it's my favorite. A lot of my book, my first book especially, was written on that boat at coming home from work on that boat with a beer, and looking out at the water. So those are the big. That was a big part of my time on the island. I loved the Carter Center. I miss just like the community events that would happen there. I mean, you guys were always having great events. I remember. So, and like the park.
mm-hmm.
What's the name of that park where they? I
50
think.
50.
Oh, it was. Oh yes, 50/50. Yeah, that was that one. But I was even thinking of that. You know how they always had that event. I think it's Natalia had it once a year at the.
Favorite park?
Yes, favorite park.
Yep.
Yes, it's so beautiful. I remember that event, um, with so many wonderful places, and I think
Yeah,
that they get overlooked or people don't see them. Yeah.
it's true. It's true. And lately, that there hasn't been too many events, and
Oh, because
I've had to put a lot of my energy in other baskets. Projectivity too. They're in the city now. They're doing all these different things. So
yeah,
anyone out there listening,
yeah,
but I see they're doing St. George Day soon.
yeah.
So there is stuff, but those art shows with like 60 artists is uh is missing. Um,
Yes, yes.
I may have to do a workshop and just show people like, yo, you want to do an event with 60 artists? This is how you do it. I may not be able to do them that much, but here's the little step by step.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it, but do it because the island needs that stuff. But no, that's amazing. You reminiscing about the story of you just being on the ferry after work because to feel that there's like I've been saying it a lot, but like there's like a power in pain. As crazy as it feels in the moment, like no,
That's
I don't
right.
want to deal with this. this sucks. Like, I don't want to feel this. But like coming home after a long day, going through everything you went through, and then venting on a boat,
That's right. Yeah.
I can't imagine how that felt for you. To be able to
Yeah.
to feel that moment.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, my dog is. I
Oh
was like
no.
debating whether to let her in or let her
Oh yeah,
out. I think she
whatever
might
you
be
could.
louder inside, so I'll leave her out. I'll leave her outside. But
Okay,
I
all
was
right.
trying to. I was trying to manage whether to bring her, but she's fine. She's beefing with the dog next door. um, what do you call it? Yeah, I definitely I think art and writing are ways that are not only for me in terms of being professional or or my scholarship or anything like that have been ways for to survive, right? Like they were, as a young girl, writing stories like helped me feel control over things. I think Virginia Woolf um, has this wonderful essay in her memoir where she talks about putting the pieces together, that as a writer, putting the pieces together, making the plot work and the characters, like that it gave her this sense of control, that it could no longer hurt her. Whatever she was writing about could no longer hurt her. I mean, and whether or not that's true, I know that's like, like we Virginia Woolf ultimately kills herself, right? But
Mm,
like it is I think that what she's saying is it made it so that she could survive that day, right? And so we don't know where Virginia Woolf would have been, if she had no writing whatsoever. And so it's I think that there's an incredible amount of power with art. We talked about this before, especially when we're working with young people, what it can bring to young people in schools, which is why it's a shame that um so many times that the arts programs are the ones that get cut first,
yeah,
because sometimes that's the only place where a kid can express themselves, that day, right?
it's so real.
Yeah.
It's so healing. Just to be able to, like, I literally look back in my life, Claire, and I'm like, damn, I wish I was writing about how I felt when I was feeling this stuff. I don't
Yes.
know,
Yep.
like, to be able to just kind of take a minute and put something in perspective,
Yep.
because things are just happening so fast, and you
Yep.
blink and you're like, oh wow, I'm 34 now. I
Ugh,
thought I was just 22.
right.
What just that? And who knows? I think about it. I'm like, if I was writing, I have no regrets. Everything I went through, I had to go through to
Mhm.
get to where I am. But I'm like, I feel like life would have been a little different if I was
Yeah.
taking a little bit of time and just writing down, damn,
To
this happened today.
reflect.
What happened? What's
Yes.
this all about? And then even to look back, like on Throwback Thursday, look back 20 years and be like, damn, I was going through this at
Yeah.
16. That would be
Yeah.
the one advice I would give my kid. Like, yo, just write a little bit. Yo, I went to the park. I was feeling good. Oh, my mom and dad took me to dinner.
Yeah.
What happened?
You start to see patterns. Like therapists actually have people do this, like they write about their lives in order to see what are the thoughts that sort of circle through their head constantly. And but also like what are the things we say to ourselves that stop us, right? That we may not even know that we're saying that to ourselves. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that because I'm just not good at it, or they're not going to like me, or whatever, right? Like, and or maybe I think this person thinks this about me, so I'm not going to engage with them, right? But you may not, that may not even be true, right? Like you have all of this junk in your head that we carry with us, right? And some of it is necessary for us to survive, right? Because
Hmm.
we we sort of take an inventory of everything around us and think, okay, I have to do this in order to like get through the day. But some of it is damaging, right? Some of it is just not true.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so in writing sometimes helps you realize it. I'm gonna let my beast of a dog in. I think it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
I think she'll be good. I think she'll be good. All right.
No, there's times, Claire, where thoughts will come in my mind,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, where did this come from? Why am I even
Right.
thinking this
Yeah.
way?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, where did this? maybe I'm just alone too much and I'm not talking to too many people throughout the day that I could think to even talk to myself about that. But it's like when I, because there could be a moment where maybe I'm feeling a vibe that isn't the best. And I
Mm-hmm.
try to catch it and I'm like, yo, where did you get this from, man?
Yeah.
Was this taught to
Yeah.
you? Was this handed down? Were you trained by someone?
Mm-hmm.
Where did this come from?
That's right. Yeah. And especially in the work with, I mean, it's so easy for us, like when we work with young people to see it, we're like, this person just like is really shy. We need to get them out of their shell. And like if we just give them one really great moment where they are doing something awesome, where they see themselves as a great basketball player or a great artist or a great singer, whatever, that'll transform them, right? Um, but like sometimes it's easier to do that for somebody else as opposed to ourselves, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I tell that to anyone I give advice. I'm like, "Yo, I have it so easy right now. I'm just going to tell you cuz I don't got to do anything. I'm just going to tell you my take." But I'm like, you have it harder. You have to
Yeah.
live with it all. You got to deal with it. You got to handle, you got all these other variables. I said, "I
Yeah.
know I got it easy, so it's easier said." But then I'm like, "Yo, I try to tell him like try to look at it as 1 plus 1. Try not
Hmm.
to look at it as 75 plus 7
Yeah.
divided by 6." And I said, I'm guilty of it doing my own thing. But I was like, the minute I could kind of make it simple math,
Yeah.
I want to go here. I want to feel this. I need to do this. What do I got to do it? And then
Yeah.
put them together. It helps, at least me. Um, and no, and you're doing amazing work. I'm proud that to
Ah,
have you
thank
as a
you.
friend, someone who's just been
Ah,
helping you
thank
for
you.
so long. Now you're teaching at you're at the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm gonna head over there
That's great.
in August, and it's that is also a
Amazing.
weird thing. Like I didn't think like I mean I was adjuncting, but like now to be a tenure track professor means that like a lot of things open up for me that I didn't see happening. You know, for example, when we first met, like maybe 8 years ago. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't think I had envisioned that life for me or thought that it was in the cards. And so it happening is just like a very like it was like a very emotional moment to finally see things fall in place in that way. Um, a little scary, but you know, exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you've been paying your dues and it's
Paying the dues and the interest for being late.
I always say if you're willing to work your ass off for 14 years, success happens overnight.
Yeah. It's so true. Oh my God. It's so
Just be
true.
willing to work 14 years on
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
And just dedicate yourself and you're gonna find a way. And like
Yeah.
you're just someone who's just found a way. Like
Yeah.
and found routes that
Thank you.
people didn't even know. Oh wow, I to get paid to go to school to learn this to do like
There's
I
a
give you
lot
nothing.
out there. And I would say
Yeah,
this, like, I think, and I try to, you know, talking with the young people we worked with, like, you know, half of the battle is just finding the resources, and sometimes that's just sitting down in front of a computer and like for 2 hours just googling, right? Like, what do you want to
yeah.
be? You want to learn music engineering, free music engineering program, google that. Where can you find that information, you know? um I think that is half the battle, right? um yeah.
I tell anyone, I'm like, if you're home bored, your job should be working as if you had a job, but looking for jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's doing them for free, so people
Yeah.
will love you and know how amazing you are, and then tell everyone how amazing you are. I
I
said,
call it planting seeds. Yeah, that's
make that your
right.
job. I said, oh, people tell me they're bored. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, you're 23 and you're bored.
Yeah.
I was like, yo,
Oh
this
man.
the time is the time. You don't know. You're gonna be 43 soon,
Yeah.
and you won't even know it. And
Yep.
and those Jordans aren't gonna pay off your car loan.
Yeah.
Maybe they will if they're the right ones, but
Yeah.
there's so
I
many of
mean,
them
and I'm
now.
not, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes. I had a Bank of America credit card I just paid off maybe 2, 3 years ago. And I've been paying for those same Christmas presents for like 15 years. I quit a job and then put my rent on that credit card one year and it was a bad move.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, like there's a lot to learn. Yeah, but I think about that too, like how much time I wasted when I was in undergraduate, where I was like, I'm bored, I have nothing to do. There's nothing here to do. I'm in Waterville, Maine. There's no party, there's no dancing. There's never dancing. It was always like these kids who like just very like elite,
Yeah.
students, and like they would just like go to somebody's room with like a handle of vodka, and I would be like, this is so bored. I'm so bored right now, right? But I think back and I was like, Claire, they had a great library there. If you would have just taken some time and gone there and read all those books, you could have written so much.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't, you don't know.
You
Like
don't know.
when
Yeah,
you're young, you don't,
it's true. It's
you're not
true.
thinking about that when you're 19 or 20 or
Of
but
course. Of course. And here I am saying, "Oh, I wish I wrote when I was 20." So we all can
yeah,
look back
yeah,
when you get a little older, and I think that's what's the blessing about being an educator, a teacher, a mentor.
yeah,
We've gone through some stuff,
yeah,
and it's probably way different. And the kids that we know have gone through way, way more. I know at least me, have gone
yeah,
way, way more than I ever will, times a
yeah.
million.
Yep.
But
I think
like,
about that with a lot of the young people we worked with. Yep.
you could just plant a little bit of hope and make someone believe in themselves,
Hmm.
and it's amazing, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what would you tell someone, they're paying their dues, they're in the beginning of their grind, they feel like it's never going to end
Yeah.
because I've seen you in the last decade, literally, as you said, you were paying all these different things. You even had to put your bills on a card to do this, do the school thing,
Yeah.
but you always found a way. And here you are, and you're about to release your next book, which I'm super excited about. You're about to teach at this amazing school. You just got your PhD. Like, what would
Oh
you tell
man.
someone who's on the ferry right now? They are working three jobs. Like, they
Yeah.
may just have the beer in their hand and their pen in the other hand. Like, what would you
Yeah.
tell these people?
You can't, I know this sounds so banal, like, but you cannot give up. Like you really can't. Like there's gonna be some days when it's like it seems like it's not happening, you're not where you are, you don't like who you are or where life is or what you're doing, but you cannot give up. You have to keep on going for what you love. And I would also say to plant seeds, like when is like you said, like sometimes I would show up to an event, a reading, and just sit there, and like just learn and hear from other people. Then maybe one day I would meet a really great writer or a poet, and then later on, a few weeks later, they might invite me to a workshop, right? And then I'm writing a poem or a story that later turns into a story that gets me into an MFA program. You
Yeah.
plant seeds wherever you are for your dreams to come true, and think about where you want to be in your life and how much time you spend right now towards that, right? And I know that that's hard because we also have to recognize that, like, a lot of us, we have to work doing shitty things we don't love, right, in order to pay our rent, but also manage to spend whatever that, even if it's just 15 minutes a week, right, that
Yeah.
give that 15 minutes to yourself to be, whether it's like I want to become a nurse, or I want to learn how to produce music, or I want to learn fashion, put 15 minutes towards that once a week, and you're going to see the things come from it, right? Those are the big things that I, and be kind to yourself. This world is so awful.
Yeah.
Every day you see something ridiculous. It's like, I think I was on Twitter and I saw it was like one headline about the atrocities that were happening in Ukraine, and then it's like Zoe Deschanel has bangs now and everybody's distracted. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like what is this
Yeah. Yeah.
world where these two headlines exist together in the same
I
feed,
know.
right? And so be kind to yourself and be kind to others, when you can.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. And, to just hear your story, and I'm looking forward to reading your next story, which is
Oh,
it's in
thank
the
you.
works. I don't know if we could announce it or not, or
Oh yeah,
that's up
you
to you.
can.
But I'm really
What
hype
happened
about
to
your,
Ruthy
your
Ramirez is it's a novel. It's coming out with Grand Central at Hachette next spring. In fact, my editor just emailed me with the production schedule, so we're really excited. And we also, there's it's also in conversation being optioned with for film stuff, so we're excited about that too. Um, but yeah, so it's a lot of good things, a lot of good things. Fingers crossed.
yeah. I'm just so proud, just and today to just hear your story, and to to hear about the grind, and the not so pretty stuff, because we may see you throw someone throw up their graduation cap, but it's like how many hours, how many minutes went into that for that, and you're living proof that you could juggle a lot of things, and you could just turn it into your dream a reality, and it's just so inspiring to hear your story.
And likewise, you're an inspiration. I love the positivity. I love everything. When I know when I go and to anything that is your social media, that it's gonna be like uplifting and it's going to make me like, okay, get on your grind, like focus. Did you do what you needed to do today? So
Yeah. uh
likewise.
I appreciate that. And so, for anyone that's looking to find you, I know your books are on maybe what sites. Let people know where because I know you got one out that's doing
I have,
amazing too.
yeah, I have Staten Island Stories is a short story collection that was out of Johns Hopkins. You can get that from probably any bookstore, like if you online, if you Google it, it'll pop up right away. Um, and the other book isn't coming out till the spring, so that'll come. You can stay tuned. And I'm on Twitter, unfortunately. Speak of the opposite of positivity. I'm on Twitter, and every day I want to get off, and I just like, but I'm like, how can I get off Twitter? I actually am one of the
Yeah.
few people who's like, I prefer Facebook to Twitter, and I know that makes me sound like like really old, but I'm just
Nah.
like, oh, Facebook is just like family and friends sharing pictures of their kids, and I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
It's true.
Well, Twitter is like everybody's 2-second hot take and takedown of somebody, and I
Yeah. Yeah.
just can't stand it. But I am there if people are looking for more information about the book.
Okay. And Twitter is
Oh, the
your
handle's at Claire D. Jimenez.
got it. Got it. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. So Claire, thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah.
I'm just I can't wait to see the new book. Congrats on all the amazing work on the new job and the PhD, and just to I'm just inspired just thinking about it. I remember you at the Carter Center after leaving your job to then go to another job to then
Yeah.
teach somewhere else, and I was like, damn, like how did she even have time? And still, she's like, I gotta go walk the dog, then I gotta go teach at St. John's or something. And I'm like, damn. And I was like, I'm done with my day. And I was like, yo,
Oh my God.
she's going somewhere. And here we are, like 8 years later. I'm just so proud. And literally, there's a ray of light shining right behind. It's pretty awesome.
Aw, thank
So
you.
that's definitely a metaphor of your future. Um,
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to you too, friend. Thank you.
of course, thank you. So tonight we learned some amazing things from my friend. She just made it work, even though it may have seemed like it wasn't working, or all she was doing was working, but she made it work. And even on the times where she was the most tired, she found time for herself to write, to express herself. And it was just a journey ever since she was a young lady to even now. She just hasn't stopped. And all during that time, she found time to help others, educate people, be there, and just didn't make any excuses, just went for it. So you could learn so much from this episode. Make sure to give her support on her book, Stories of Staten Island, and then the new book that's coming out, and follow her journey. And remember, when I say don't stop dreaming, I mean going out and going for it. Just as my friend said here, even if you're very busy and you're doing a bunch of shit that maybe isn't the most perfect thing, putting 15, 20 minutes aside to be kind to yourself makes a big difference.
That's right.
So Claire, you're always welcome back, and
Thank
I wish you nothing but the best. I can't wait to see everything else that you do in the future.
you too. You too.